Hello, all. My name is Drew Mitchner with Greenbox Solar and Energy Storage. The purpose of this video is to give you a little insight on how to use the new time of rate structures in Utah and integrate a battery system and possibly solar to save some significant money on your power bill. You really don't even need solar for what we're going to go through, but it can help a little bit. Obviously, this is kind of tailored towards Utah and specifically Rocky Mountain Power and their new time of use, aka time of day rate structures, but fairly applicable to other utilities. The math might change slightly, but how you're accomplishing the savings and moving the power around stays the same. So let's get into it. First, so again, this is Rocky Mountain Power. This is their new rate structure as of a couple months ago, and as you can see, the spread is quite dramatic from the on peak to off peak, and I'll get into a little bit more what that means. But just real quick, showing their two seasons. We have a summer and a winter season. Changes both the peak and off peak rates by a little bit, and then the time for what those peak periods matter is quite straightforward. So 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Friday. Everything else is off peak. So makes it really easy to program equipment, and I'll get into that in a second as well, and to make the calculations on when you need to cover your usage with a battery or solar or both. But really, it's very friendly rate structure for energy arbitrage. I'll show you. All right. More about the rate, but just kind of comparing here what many customers are currently on, which is just the standard rate Schedule 1, and the cost per kilowatt on those compared to the time of use on and off peak over here. And as you can see, the on peak dramatically higher, but off peak considerably lower. And there's not a tiered amount either. It's just everything off peak is the same price. There is a summer and winter that changes things a little bit. All right, just a real quick reminder of a few strategies to help reduce the amount of power the home is consuming between 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock. And this is before we even talk about solar, battery, or anything. But so even if you don't have any of that equipment, you possibly save a little bit of money by switching the time of use without that equipment. But even if you do purchase or have a battery, it would be smart to think about some of this stuff, not trying to change, how you're using your home or your day-to-day routine. But there are a couple of simple things, that you can do to just shift some of your bigger loads, especially. So your laundry or your electric dryer, your dishwasher, some of your larger 240 volt loads often already have the technology built into them to allow you to set delay timers or program them with an app to turn on and off at certain times of the day. And that all can help without having to really spend any additional money or think about it too much. So just a reminder, there are some things you need to move some power and usage around. All right, so this first example is just kind of what can be done with a battery, and load shifting is one term for it, or energy arbitrage. So the idea here is pretty straightforward. You want to install a battery system that will cover those 4 hours from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. The numbers you're seeing here are on a very average size home, average amount of consumption. So the savings could be slightly more, slightly less, depending on our situation, but just going with a real conservative average here. So this first box here, the standard rate, Schedule 1, costing this sample example home about $5.50 in electricity costs between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. And just a good number to know as well, on average, most homes use between 20 and 25% of their total power in that peak period, which is why the utilities are trying to incentivize to move that power around so that they don't have to supply those peak loads all at once, which is difficult for them to generate that much power, distribute that much power, transmit around. It's just a lot easier if they can spread it out and cost them and you less. So in this case, if we can utilize a battery, and this is battery only, this is no solar again, to not offset, but to move or cover, I guess, the loads from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., the cost goes down to $3 from the $5.50. And the reason there's any cost is because we have charged the batteries on off-peak time when the power is less. So it's nearly half in this case to charge it on cheap power, discharge it with expensive power. Daily savings about $2.50. It saves you roughly $75 a month on your power bill. And this again is just with batteries, no solar. This example, pretty much the same thing, except we do implement some solar here to lower the charging costs. So in this case, we're assuming that we can charge at least 75% of the battery capacity from solar on average. And if the system is designed correctly, some days are going to be 100%. Some seasons, some days will be less. But the design target is to charge your batteries 75% of the time from exclusively solar, which, because the solar production is even cheaper than the off-peak charging production or charging power would be from the grid, it increases those costs even a little bit further. Not a ton more, you're not doubling it or anything, but we do add another $15 or so per month in savings in this example. And the other thing that the solar would just do for you is if the grid is out for an extended period of time, so you're utilizing the system as backup power, gives you some way to continue to charge the batteries so that if the batteries didn't have the solar and they were depleted from a long outage, there would be no way to keep charging them, obviously. So you don't have to have a ton of solar in this situation. We're not trying to offset all of your consumption by the amount of solar you have. Just a smaller amount of solar, usually in the 50 to 60% of your total consumption. So just to clarify, so the solar would produce enough to offset 50 to 60% of your total home's usage on an annual basis. It's really all you need to get these kind of savings and have a good amount of charging power if the grid does go down. All right, so a little bit more about the backup load configuration. So we're talking mostly about time of use, but if you've got that battery sitting there doing its job on time of use, time of day, every day from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., it'll also be available if the grid does go out. There's two ways to connect that, and this kind of depends on your home, how many loads you have, what type of loads, the size of those loads, and what system type that you choose to install or already have. So we can set it up to either a critical loads backup, which just means that we manually move and back up only the things that are the most important to you. And typically that means, your fridge and freezer, your internet, possibly your furnace blower, if it's a gas furnace, maybe your garage door, just those roughly half dozen loads or so that you'll want to keep on, and maybe a few lights and a couple outlets to charge your stuff. The other option is a whole home backup. Whole home access is probably more accurate in most cases. So in this case, you would have access to everything in your home. Depending on the system size and type of equipment you have, you may not be able to power everything at the same time. You would risk overloading the system, but you would have access to everything, so you can kind of pick and choose what you want up to a certain load capacity. There's a lot more to that. We can manage those loads more and give you more power, but in general, those are the two types of systems that are available right now. So, and there's just a couple of notes around why that's important. There definitely are increasing number of outages everywhere in the U.S., really, but certainly this is true in Utah over the last couple of seasons, couple of years, and it's no good when your food goes bad or it's in the middle of winter and you can't keep your furnace blower going. So pretty obvious reasons to have backup power there. So that's about it. Just really quick introduction to what time of use is. So the quick summary of that is just You can utilize energy storage batteries to arbitrage your power. So charge the equipment when it's cheap, discharge it when it's expensive, and by doing so, lower your total power cost, your effective rate by roughly 40% from the standard rate schedule that most customers are paying now. And while the example has been Rocky Mountain specific, there are many smaller utilities throughout our service area, Utah and Idaho, that are also looking at or have already added time of use plans. Just the actual cost per kilowatt hour probably slightly different, but the idea stays the same. So um, if you had any other questions or just like to look into what some of that equipment or options would cost, see the ways to do that on the screen now. Give us a call, fill out the form on the website. We'd be happy to answer questions or get you a free quick quote. Thank you.